This is going to be all my gear that I use to complete a summit of Gannett Peak, along with a few very critical items that you're going to want to consider bringing on your summit attempt. We have the backpack that I use, which was a ULA Circuit. Great backpack. This is typically the one that I'll use for longer trips because it is a 60-liter bag. You can fit quite a bit of stuff in it, which is what you're going to need when you're going on Gannett Peak, because you're carrying ice axes, crampons, all this different stuff. So that was the bag that I used. Worked great. Trekking poles. I used one of the Black Diamond Z trekking poles. These are carbons. Used these since 2021, and you'll see here in a second why I only used one. Highly recommend these poles. Never obviously broke on me. Use them for multiple adventures. And yes, you're gonna wanna use trekking poles for Gannett Peak, whether you're doing it in a day or you're doing it in 3 days, because you're carrying a lot of gear on the 3 days. It's just 4-wheel drive for your feet. The first piece of critical gear that I wanna talk about are these universal crampons. These are called universal crampons because they can attach to essentially any shoe. Whether it's a regular boot, you could do a mountaineering boot, you could do a trail runner. In our case, what we used was a trail runner. I don't have it on me because I absolutely thrashed them on this trip. This was the last trip that I could really use them on because I've had them for about 1.5 years. But I'll still put a picture of what they were right here. The Topo Mountain Racer 3s. Again, great shoe, and I paired them with universal crampons. Now, why I did that is because we decided we weren't going to carry mountaineering boots on this particular climb because it was relatively lower angle snow climbing. And for myself, I'm pretty comfortable with doing snow climbs, so it really didn't bother me that much to not have the extra security of mountaineering boots. So if you're going to do that, a pair of universal crampons are absolutely necessary. I wouldn't have felt comfortable in just micro spikes. These obviously have a lot more of a bite to them than micro spikes, and almost honestly weigh the same, if not even a little less than micro spikes, just because of their aluminum nature. Now, the one thing you don't want to do with these is walk on rocks, which is what I did at one point, because you're going to really dull the blades because they're aluminum. So make sure you take them off if you get to the top of Bonnie Pass. One thing you're going to want in your backpacking bag is going to be this Nyloflume pack liner. And what that's going to do is you're going to put all of your dry clothing in there, and then you're going to fold it up. And what that's going to do is protect your clothing that you don't want to get wet, like your sleeping bag, your down coat, and things like that, from getting wet inside of your pack if it rains, which it probably is going to do in the Wind River Range. Brought some Columbia, just regular fleece gloves. Gloves were clutch to have, especially when you're doing the early morning ascent of, for our case, Bonnie Pass, but also if you're going from the other side and you're going up early in the morning, especially if it's windy. But any type of gloves will do. Just make sure you bring gloves even if it's in the middle of summer. So right here is my Thermarest Neo Air Light pad. Honestly, I don't really get the hype about these pads. I wouldn't really recommend you buy this. It's $200 and some. You can get a great one, a climate insulated static V one that I used to rock forever that's wider and weighs just a little bit more for way less. Second piece of really important kit was the Whippet. This is the reason why I only brought one trekking pole. It's because with the Whippet, you can actually just remove the top piece here and it will just become a trekking pole. On the hike in, the approach into the lakes, I would just use it like this. And then when I was going up the snowshoots, I would put my ice axe tip on it. A lot of people are gonna be like,
Whippets don't do a good job on steep snow.
and that I say, no. That's why I brought it, is because it was for a moderate snow climb, something where I'm probably not gonna need a full-blown ice axe, and I can get away with something a little bit smaller. You can use the same rationale for using micro spikes versus a full-blown crampon. If you're climbing lower angle terrain, you can get away with micro spikes, but if it's spicier terrain, you're probably gonna wanna have crampons for extra security. It's the same reasoning for a Whippet versus a full-blown ice axe. By doing this, we saved a lot of weight and one less tool that we needed to haul around. Because you gotta remember, for us, we did the 43-mile round trip. And if I'm gonna be bringing this the entire way, but I'm only using it for a couple small sections, it's not gonna be worth it to me, especially if I can get away with something like this. And I actually had to use it one time when I was going up Bonnie Pass in the morning because it was very icy. I slipped And the first thing I did was just jam this straight into the snow, and it stopped me from sliding. So worked really well. Another critical piece of gear is going to be a really good raincoat. This is my Patagonia Torrent Shell. I got this because of monsoon season in the Rockies. If you don't know about monsoon season in the Rockies, you need to get yourself educated about it. Essentially what happens is that in the afternoons, it clouds up and it starts storming, and some of those storms can be quite powerful. For our particular case, we got rained on 2 out of the 3 days and got rained on significantly hard both of those days. This was a critical piece of gear. So make sure you're not just using one of those Frog Togs coats that are 10 cents and will rip when it even looks at a stick. Get something good. This is a Columbia, just a regular basic sun hoodie. You could use any type of sun hoodie. In the middle of summer, a lot of times you're not thinking that you need pants, especially if you're always rocking shorts, but I found these Columbia pants. Again, you can use any type of pant that you want. These worked really well because I liked them because they're very stretchy. But having pants, you got to have pants, especially if you're doing an early morning ascent. You're going to thank me later. You also need pants because if you do start to slide on some of the snow, you want all of your areas of skin covered so something like this doesn't happen, which happened to my buddy. And that's also another good reason why you should bring gloves and wear the gloves when you're doing these moderate snow climbs on this route. Next, we have my tents. This is a Gossamer Gear, the 1 tent. I don't really like this tent either. I wouldn't recommend it, but I guess it got us through it. Here's another critical piece of gear, and this was the day pack that I used to summit Gannett Peak on summit day. And the reason I decided to bring a total another pack, even though I'm kind of a weight weenie, is because it made the summit day a lot easier by not having to haul up a huge 60-liter pack. Instead, I just had a 20-liter pack. So much lighter. And then with that pack, I can also run trail running type filters. And another critical piece of gear that I would recommend is getting one of these Salomon XA filters. It just looks like a regular cap at the top, but it's actually got a filter. So what you can do is just filter your water, put this in, and then just drink this inline. You don't have to sit there filtering water forever, which is time consuming, which you really don't have a lot of time when you're trying to summit this peak. Brought a down jackets. I've taken this thing through the ringer. I recommend Kuyu. I like it. My next to skin layer was a button-up short-sleeve shirt. This is a PFG fishing shirt from Columbia. I really like the button-up style short-sleeve shirts because I can unbutton it to get airflow, and then obviously it's short-sleeve. If I need more sun protection, I'll just throw on that sun hoodie. For water filtering at camp, I had my Sawyer Squeeze. Awesome filter. It's never failed me. Just do not leave it out over freezing conditions because then you're SOL. I brought an Anchor charger to recharge my phone. Garmin InReach Mini. Everybody should have these, especially when you're doing an isolated summit like this one. And then to film everything, I brought my Insta360 X5 with a selfie stick. You can't really get any better than this because of the fact that it's just awesome. It's a 360 angle. Unfortunately, I ran it for too long with it on without me knowing, and the battery died before I could really get the spicy stuff on the ridge. Helmet that I was rocking was this Petzl Meteor. Pretty good. I actually need to replace it because it's got some cracks in it. My sleeping bag was a Western Mountaineering 20-degree bag, which I think was perfect for this trip because it can definitely get quite cold when you're camping at elevation at 10,000, 11,000 feet below Bonnie Pass and a storm comes in. Even though it's in the middle of summer, again, take my advice on this.
The headlamp I used was just a Foxelli rechargeable headlamp. I think they're about 15 bucks or less than $20 on Amazon. And man, I've had this for years. I've used this for so many adventures and it's never failed me. I actually used it all through the night on a 100-mile ultra race and it lasted all night on a single charge. I'm a big fan of the rechargeable headlamps for sure. My watch that I use was a Suunto Vertical Solar. Do you need to spend $700 on a GPS watch? Absolutely not. Is this a good watch? Yes, I do think so. Is there cheaper options that probably do the same thing? Probably. The sunglasses that I used were the Oakley Sutros. I really like this style just because it wraps around my head and doesn't look as dorky as glacier goggles. But why I like to buy kind of expensive glasses is for the fact that I can replace the lenses with these type of things off of websites. And that's what I did because I'm terrible with keeping my lens scratch free. I found a cheap replacement lens on Amazon for the Sutros, and they're good for a lot of different activities as well, whether you're hiking, biking, trail running.
Leave a comment below if you guys are about to attempt Gannett Peak. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you for the next one.